Folks, hello. It is time for a rather ranty video today. It's been a while since we've had one. And today is one of those fun ranty videos, though, rather than a serious ranty video, because it's mainly to do with 40k lore. It's nothing really pertaining to real-life issues or anything like that. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below, the Patreon button is also down below, if you want to buy me a beer heading into the bank holiday weekend, and also, if Composite Games are doing their own giveaway of £400 worth of their stock, head on down to the GoFundMe website down below and enter into that competition. It will be drawn sometime within the next month or so, as far as I'm aware. Go and try and win yourself some £400 worth of stock. They can also send it anywhere in the world, because it doesn't count as a purchase, it counts as a prize. So it can go anywhere that they want it to go. So, if you're in America, Australia, wherever you are, please enter in, have some fun. Right, these are my 5 least favourite Space Marine chapters, and the key word there is my least favourite Space Marine chapters. These are opinions. I've never really said that on the channel before, because I like to give you guys more credit than that, but since we are on the internet, I do need to say, these are opinions, please don't get offended, things like that. It is ridiculous that on certain videos we have to say things like that, because people get so up in arms, and they act like the world's coming down simply because you don't agree with them, but there we go. Moving on, these are 5 Space Marine chapters that I don't like. Now, some chapters, there will be one cheaty one here, because I do put a Legion in here, for the sake of what we're doing, but it is the first one as well. But aside from that, all of these will be Space Marine chapters. So, going onwards. First one, Alpha Legion. Yes, I know. A lot of people will be up in arms about me with this one, because the Alpha Legion do have, quite a good following. They have a lovely colour scheme. They have a really, really lovely colour scheme. But, to me, I'm sorry, they're a meme factory. If I have to see one more I am Alfarius, this is a lie, meme, or some snooty, snot-nosed neckbeard slyly saying it whilst gesticulating about his lore, I am going to throw up. Seriously. They are a prime example of what not to do with a secretive faction in your setting. Should they be mysterious? Sure, of course they should. Their lore should not be utterly impenetrable, though, because it is at the moment. It reads like someone in the studio who was about to write for the Alpha Legion asked, "Hey, what's with these Alpha Legion guys that I'm supposed to be writing about?" To which a higher up in the studio said, "Oh yeah, they're pretty secretive." And the studio guy goes, "Hey, say no more, bro." Well, yeah, but there's more to them, though. Yeah, I said say no more, bro. Boring. Exhausting to read. Cringe fans. The end. And I'm sorry, this video will be a lot like that. There'll be a lot of sweeping generalizations and arguments. Is that fair? Nope. But it's my video. Suck it. Let's move on. Ultramarines are the next one on our list of daring do, of things that are bad in the lore that I don't like. I wanted to skip over the Alpha Legion because they're a Legion and not really a chapter, but now we are into the chapters. So, speaking of boring, these are the kings of boring, ladies and gentlemen. The absolute most boringest of all boring factions, no matter how many times Games Workshop writers try to spice them up with more interesting successor chapters. Say what you want, Ultramarines fans, but if you want the corporate cynicism and arrogance of Games Workshop to have a face in the lore, your chapter, the Ultramarines, is that face. Anyone from 8th edition onwards can tell you that every story just has to be about the Ultramarines. They are on the cover of almost any lore-changing book that pushes things forward in the grand narrative, and if Gilliman is not in a battle saving the galaxy at one point, you can bet your ass he's about to swoop in and take all the credit right at the end. As an example, imagine, if you will, dear viewer, dear listener, you are a Batman fan. Batman and the Joker are going toe-to-toe, and it's great, you're loving this current story in the Batman arc. Then, at the 11th hour, Superman comes in, effortlessly knocks out the Joker, and saves the day, and then flies off. That would suck, right? Okay. Now go talk to the Blood Angels and Tyranids fans about the Shield of Baal campaign. I'll wait here. Okay? I'll wait right here. You go and talk to them about how that campaign ended. A complete hamstringing of their own factions for the glory of Ultramar. I'm sick of it. I've been sick of it for years. I don't care how many Ultramarines fans come to me and go, well, actually, they're actually more interesting now because they have this one section of one book in the Horus Heresy that kind of makes it... No, sorry, they're not. They're not interesting. They're boring. And they're meant to be boring. The whole shtick is that they're boring. They are tactically self-aware. They're able to... They follow a strict doctrine of rules and regulations, and you have to follow the rules. You have to be a good boy. You have to be a good boy, have blonde hair and blue eyes. That's what you need to do, right? I just don't like them. And people who say they are Romans in space, go fuck yourself. No, they're not. The Romans are far more interesting than the Ultramarines, and they deserve far more. You can throw as many laurel wreaths as you want at the Ultramarines, they will never be Romans, because Romans were interesting and had edge and had something about them. That's why more people should use them in fantasy settings, because they're really complex and diverse and interesting. The Ultramarines are anything fucking but, okay? They don't deserve the Roman mystique that they seem to ape on. They don't deserve it. They don't. Make them more interesting, make them go off the rails a little bit, and stop giving it to the successor chapters. Why do so many Ultramarine successor chapters turn into interesting people? Give that to the Ultramarines. Let the Ultramarines fall to chaos. Let the Ultramarines do some weird shit. Let the Ultramarines have something about them that makes Gilliman go, ooh, that's weird. Right? Give them some character flaws. For God's sake, please give them... And a character flaw, by the way, isn't, oh, we don't quite believe in ourselves as much as we should because we're amazing. Fuck off with that. That's not a character flaw. Gilliman sucks, dude. That's not a character flaw. Not at all. Moving on. Blood Ravens. Yeah, this is going to be controversial. I know they have fans out there. I know some of you are slightly like mentally backwards. So, oh Lord, these morons. Not only are they woefully unoriginal as a Blood Angel knockoff, lazy and uninspiring, none of their more interesting parts of lore take place in the video games that they actually star in. Why? Well, Games Workshop saw that you were taking the piss out of them for being Blood Angel rip-offs, and so they injected a load of lore into them away from the game to make them seem more interesting. What is that lore? Two things, really. One, they steal things, and two, they might be a successor chapter to the Thousand Sons. A traitor legion that was full of psychers. Why? How? Don't know. I mean, the current chapter master is a librarian, which I guess is a thing, but not every Marine in the Blood Ravens chapter is a psyker or shows any sign of psychic talent. Their penchant for stealing things is also a neat idea, but given to entirely the wrong chapter. Why the hell are we building up these video game protagonists when the Raven Guard and other founding legions, like the Salamanders, hardly get any lore at all? Why? Why did these dudes get so much thrown at them when one of the founding, the Salamanders and the Raven Guard are not given anything, hardly anything at all after the Horus Heresy, or even during the Horus Heresy, for God's sake? Just beggars belief. Beggars belief. I understand why, you know, we have a design studio who want to make their own chapter for their own video game. That's fine, I get that. But it's not on them. They can make whatever lore they want. It's on Games Workshop to say, hey, this company's outdoing us in lore in certain ways. We're not having that. We're going to make our own chapters. We're going to go back to the Raven Guard. We're going to go back to the Salamanders. And we're going to give them this rich, dynamic storyline in the current meta, in the current game, that really makes them resonate with people. Because at the moment, the only people who seem to get stories from those original legions are the Ultramarines, Imperial Fists, and Space Wolves. Maybe Dark Angels now. Maybe. Everybody else can fuck off as far as they're concerned. And it does my nut in. Moving on. Crimson Fists. Here's another controversial one. I know. A lot of you are going to be a bit annoyed at this one. Crimson Fists. Speaking of people unfairly built up to be something they're not, the Crimson Fists are fucking pussies. There, I said it. Nice Marines take away just about the entire point of having a grimdark setting in the first place. Can a Space Marine identify with normal humans? Sure, why not? Going out of your way to be nice and look after people goes against just about everything we know about elite operators in the field in the modern world, never mind in the 41st millennium. Showing mercy to non-combatants? Sure, yeah, fine. But the main objective is you get your guys in and you get them out, and nothing gets in the way of you doing that. If it does, it's dead. The amount of times the Crimson Fists have been in short stories and novels, making boneheaded decisions because doing the alternative would make them a meanie is infuriating. Sometimes, not everybody is getting out of a mission alive. Sometimes, you have to make hard decisions. If you would like Crimson Fists, I bet you saved the Council at the end of Mass Effect 1, didn't you? Admit it, you spineless coward. Admit it. If you don't know what I mean, in Mass Effect 1, you play as Commander Shepard, who is basically a Special Forces soldier. And you're given big leeway to do what you want in the story, to go and chase down this rogue agent who's out there in the galaxy. And you do everything, you do everything that you can, and you bring them to task, and you almost save the day, only for the Council, who rule the galaxy, to undermine you at every opportunity that they have, and to even call you up to insult you when you're on your ship, and things like that, because you're just a human, and you're not going to get anything done. They don't even believe the rogue agent is actually a real threat, until, at the end of the game, that rogue agent turns up with an army of synthetic soldiers to annihilate them, right? So, you have a choice. Do you take all of the human fleets and try and throw them at the synthetics to try and save the Council, or do you hold them back to go after the real threat that you've said is the real threat for the entire game, this monster megaship that this rogue agent has? If you go in to save the Council, you're a fucking moron. Why are you a moron? Because you're using up human lives, you're using up lives of soldiers to go and save people who aren't the objective of the mission. They're not the objective. And what's more, personally, they've brought this entire thing to pass. This is their fault. Their fault. Right? But even if you take all of the personal decisions out of it, right? Every single person I know who is an ex-soldier or has been in the services or at any standard whatsoever, they always, because they're nerds, they play Mass Effect, they always let the Council die. They save their forces for the actual objective, because you're there to get a job done, and sometimes 10 people have to die so 100 people can live. That's just, sometimes you have to make that decision. That's why you're in charge. The Crimson Fists are not those people. They get people fucking killed because they put over all of the wrong messages on what you're supposed to do as a soldier who has a responsibility to preserve human life. You're not there to help everybody all of the time. Let UNICEF do that. Let the Red Cross do that. You're there to make sure your guys get in and get out. That's what you're there to do. And normally what you're there to do is to get an objective that makes sure that a lot of people aren't going to die in the long run. That's what you're there for. You're there to protect people. But you're there to protect people by fighting and doing what you're good at. Making tactical decisions. If you save the Council in Mass Effect 1, you're not cut out to be a leader on any form whatsoever. That's not you. You're not cut out to be that, dude. Sorry, the world isn't sunshine and rainbows. And I wish Crimson Fists, I wish they would get that through their fucking skulls, right? Same thing goes for Salamanders, but they're a Legion. I've already done a Legion, so I used the Crimson Fist to highlight that issue with certain parts of 40k lore that I don't like. Again, my opinion, not gospel. Moving on. Oh, Soul Drinkers. Soul Drinkers, oh boy. If there was ever a case of over-egging the pudding in a 40k narrative, and let's be honest, there are a lot of those going around, it's the Soul Drinkers. What starts out as a cool narrative about a Space Marine chapter hovering on the line of heresy and needing to fight the good fight eventually turns into a complete mess. A chapter civil war, and the chapter master somehow transforming into a fucking spider creature. Yeah. The kicker, get this, his Marines, for the most part, still want him to be a chapter master. Yeah. I have little against the Soul Drinkers aside from them being an example of writers breaking the 40k setting because it suits their whims. Sarpedon should have been given death by hot plasma the second he started mutating in these stories. I don't care about mitigating circumstances. There are just some things, as a Marine, you don't do. Angelic wings we can get past. Alright, we can get past that. Turning into a fucking mecha spider? Nah, mate, eat lead. If you want to know how to do a good Space Marine chapter story properly, please go and read about the Iron Snakes, Emperor Spears, or Size of the Emperor. Go and do that. But leave the Soul Drinkers out of it. They're not a very... They break the law, and it becomes a convoluted mess. It's almost like it was written by a Final Fantasy writer. You know, Final Fantasy games, almost all of the time, start off with a really cool, grounded narrative that I'm really enjoying. And then it goes into J-pop and metaphysical stories about worlds colliding and planets exploding and souls being born in other souls that they can then go and have sex with demons or something. I don't know. It's Japanese. It's weird. That's what they do. It's really, really, really strange. And I've said this before. I'm going away from the Soul Drinkers. I've said this before about Japanese media. And by the way, you can see I'm using fucking Berserk as the background of this, and it's one of my favourite stories, and even Berserk does this. Okay? But it's one of the only stories to use it as a positive going forward, as something good about the story. Every Japanese story I seem to read in modern fiction, whether it be manga, whether it be a video game, it starts off nice and cool and awesome and grounded, and I like it, and really cool character moments, and all of a sudden it's like they start smoking crack towards the end of the story, and it just goes off in its own direction of all these, here's the story that we actually wanted to tell. You know, it's almost like as soon as the studio's head is turned, all of this weird shit gets started pumped in. It's really weird. If you know any stories that don't do that, please show me. You know, I read manga, I read things, I like Gantz, I like all these, I like extreme stuff, don't get me wrong, you know, but there are certain times in every single one of these stories where I'm just like, what? Anyway, moving on. That took a tangent, I apologise. Finally, you know what's coming. Honourable mention time. There's only one. You know who it is. It's the Space Wolves. Here we are, the most arrogant, irritating, protected, and looked after chapter in the history of Warhammer. A horrid, pustule boil on the arse of Warhammer 40,000 that we can never seem to shake. They are that one Space Marine army that women who aren't hobbyists take one look at, and then they look back at you as you are showing them your hobby, and they think you are a fucking tool who needs to grow up. Yeah, these are the Space Wolves, ladies and gentlemen. I am... Anybody who knows this channel knows I am a huge hater of the Space Wolves. I am not a fan of them. I think they are a symptom of everything that is wrong with 40k as a whole. They make no sense in the lore. They are just cringe of the highest order. You know, Space Marine, Viking cosplayers in space. I can't, man. I can't. The Blood Angels are the same with the vampire shit, but I can't with the Space Wolves. I'm sorry. You know, the Space Wolves... The Space Wolves get away with a lot in the lore. The lore bends over backwards to break its own back to accommodate the Space Wolves all of the time. We are told you're not allowed to even look at an Inquisitor wrong, but the Space Wolves kill them with impunity, and nothing ever happens. The Space Wolves blow up Inquisitorial ships, nothing ever happens. You know? Even the power level of Space Wolves goes above and beyond. The Space Wolves kill Grey Knight Grandmasters like it's nothing. I'm sorry, that doesn't happen in the lore. I'm sorry. That's like killing a Custodes. But it's nowhere near that level. But you know what I mean? You may as well just have them kill Custodes, and they will. Trust me, there will be a certain point in the Space Wolf lore when one of them just slaps aside a Custodes. There is a part in the Horus Heresy novels in Unremembered Empire where a Space Wolf starts talking smack to a Primarch, to Rabute Guilliman. And you know I'm not Guilliman's biggest fan, but fuck am I angry at this. Am I angry at this? That this little runt of a Space Wolf gets to talk shit to a Primarch and nothing happens. Nothing happens. They even calls the Primarch Jarl, which is like a lord. You know, you're a foreign lord. He's not a king to them. No, he's just a lord. He's a foreign lord. Fuck you. Fuck you. And thank God the lion was there in that scene to bitch slap one of the Space Wolves when they dared say, hey, do you want to do an exchange of blows? Because Space Wolves are stupid like that, right? Hey, I want to punch a Primarch in the face. Okay, punches a Primarch. Primarch is nonplussed. Primarch slaps him across the courtyard. Thank fuck that happened. I hate the Space Wolves. I hate everything about them. I can't stand them. I'm in a bad mood. And I am in a bad mood because these guys put me in that fucking mood. Every single time they're involved in anything, they're bolshy, they're loud, they're arrogant, they're all over the place. And to be honest with you, the law seems to love them and break itself to accommodate these stupid furry cosplayers running around in the galaxy. And you know what's the worst thing about Space Wolves? The worst thing? They deserve better. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They deserve better. There are good ways to do the Space Wolves. I've said it. I've done an entire video on them. When I try and fix them. I try and make them likeable. I would collect that army of Space Wolves. They deserve better. Their fans deserve better. Even though their fans sometimes can be just as arrogant and dismissive as their chapter. Every single time I seem to speak to a Space Wolf player, they are woefully dismissive of other people's armies because you know what? The law tells them that their army is the best. Well, I mean, no, it's not. But the law tells them that everybody else needs to bend over backwards to accommodate you because you're a man baby. You're a man baby and you can't take losses. Even the loss you did take, quote unquote, against Magnus at Fenris, all it did was make your world cooler. Fuck off. I'm done with these people. Those are my 5 most disliked chapters. I'm looking forward to doing the positive one next week because I need to. Because this was a big bloodletting of all of my anger and frustration at certain chapters coming out to the fore. Again, these are only my opinions, and I've not read every book under the sun. I've read the Soul Drinkers book several years ago. I've read several short stories on the Crimson Fists. And the Law on Crimson Fist, because I did research a few years ago about what Space Marine chapter I wanted to do, and certain parts of lore jumped out at me as, oh my god, that's fucking cringe, I hate that, I'm not doing those armies. And that's what I've used to do this video. If you disagree with me, that's fine, that's your opinion, I have my opinion, you have yours. Let me know who are your least favourite chapters in the comment section down below. I'll be back tomorrow, where we're going to be discussing characters in Warhammer 40,000 going forwards in 10th edition. Love you all long time, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll speak to you later. Have a good one. Bye.